Now I see it. Now we're live.
We're looking to admit also Massey and Harris.
They are not.
Yes.
They're not.
Is that business developer? Is that no? That's somebody else probably.
We're live on YouTube. Just so you know.
Now must I let her in? Shall I also let in Björn?
Yes. Yes, I told Bjorn that he comes. That yeah.
Bjorn is here.
Welcome.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you.
The same.
How are things?
It's great. I mean, it's quite, hectic, the traditional things that we really want to close before Christmas or plan a startup before all customers say, hey, let's do this next year.
Yeah.
So I'd say we have about 2 weeks left of that.
Okay.
How are things on your side?
Well, with me, it's good. I'm really excited for this session. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really we talked about this just before you came here. We're really happy to do this and happy that you're on board.
Oh, so am I. It's a fascinating topic. I had to actually do a little bit of thinking of what I think that accessible AI is.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, of course, you could say that it's the obvious, like, hey, a super nice tool, but it's something broader than that, because that tool might not be for everyone to use.
Yeah, that's true. Just a quick question here, Tosca. We're streaming now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so no spoilers yet, Björn. No spoilers for the talk here. So
Yeah. We can crop it out later post. Yeah.
Hey, Masai.
Hi. Checking with Adrian.
Yeah. By the way, Björn, we have put the accelerator program at the end of this, and also like the AI Peltarion AI Academy at the end. So David will like call you out and say, "Can you tell us more about this?"
Yeah,
at the end.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing, because I haven't included any sort of sign up here things.
Yeah, because it's also like the package we have for the speakers for them to promote their things, since it's for free, and that's kind of the
perfect
X deal. Yeah.
Perfect. So I will try to share my screen since I'm on a single laptop today. See if I can get the right thing to share here.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you can try to hijack my my share screen.
Oh, sorry, I can't do that.
You can.
You can start screen share while other participants is sharing.
Here, now you can try.
All right, let's try it again. Perfect. So if I do that and go into, is the presentation showing now? Is it showing a presentation, or is it showing something else?
It is showing. I needed to choose whose screen I need to watch.
Okay,
right,
so I
okay.
really need to. So it's a new feature from Zoom, Because before you can just hijack my screen. Okay,
All
so
right,
I
okay.
really need to
Perfect.
capture it.
Do you wanna, now I know that it works, do you wanna take back?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Hello,
Okay,
guys.
Hello. So yeah, Bjorn, you see them, the rest are the facilitators for the breakout rooms and the future AI think tank crew. So, just so you know.
So how many are we anticipating?
The current total signups are 65, but as expected, it will be lower than that.
All right.
Yeah, we realized it's when you have an online events, it's much easier to sign up, and then you know you don't know if you can make it, but 50%, I think 60.
Yeah,
Something like
it's probably like an easy come, easy go thing.
Yeah. Is anybody else using Windows? I realized that I get all these notification sounds popping up, but I don't know how to turn them off on Zoom.
I'm using Windows, but I'm not getting anything.
You're not?
No.
Using Mac and I'm getting pop-ups. Do you mean like people waiting in the?
No. I mean, when I, for example, when I if I turn off the video, let's see this one. Yeah, you hear that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like alert sounds from the computer.
Yeah.
I think you can turn them off in the sound settings.
Can you hear the music?
Yes. Sounds nice. You can do. That's perfect.
3 minutes. Maybe we should start admitting them.
Yeah.
Stay
So what do we think? Should we wait a little bit longer, see if people drop in?
Hello, guys.
Hey. In respect to time, let's try to get started a bit, I think. We still have some introduction before we get to the good stuff. So I would like to say a warm welcome to everybody who's here now. This is today's AI think tank about accessible AI, organized by us, the students at the AI Business Consultant Program at Hyper Island in collaboration with AI Sweden. And I just love how many projects they do right now. Some of us actually doing this initiative with AI Think Tank are doing a course there now, change agent. I don't know how they manage it, but they do a lot. Anyway, my name is David Anderson, and I will moderate today's think tank, part of the crew arranging it. And this is the fourth think tank. And for you who are new here and the old ones who participated before, I encourage you that you are here, you stay for a discussion we will have after a talk, presentation by the expert, which will be in breakout rooms later on. There's also a stream on YouTube now. So if you know somebody who would be interesting, let them know. I think we can share the link to YouTube in the chat maybe. So you can share it on social media, and it will be available afterwards as well. So you might wonder, if you're new also, what am I doing here? And to answer that question, we have prepared a video to explain what we're doing, and we're showing this every time. So we're running that first, and maybe we can roll it right away. Are we ready for it, Tosca?
Hello there. We are so happy to welcome you to the AI Think Tank. You might be wondering what this event is all about. Well, we want you, business leaders, tech enthusiasts, and the curious to learn about AI. The AI Think Tank is a collaboration between a team of AI business consultant students from Hyper Island together with AI Sweden. Our mission is to connect people, spread awareness of AI, how it can help your businesses, and spark your interest. We invite AI leaders to share their knowledge and bring inspiration about different topics and applications of AI. For an hour, you will be able to connect by creating this event, meet new people who share the same interest and curiosity, discuss by creating discussion rooms where you can share your thoughts, ideas, and potential use cases, innovate by learning from our invited AI leaders and the tools that will be shared. You will become AI aware and potentially get new ideas to solve your business challenges. Let's get started.
Great. So now you know a bit more about the purpose and the value we want you to have from this event. And we want to do a waterfall check-in. We did the same thing last time. But we're doing this question because it sets the tone, and we get a little sense of where you are in your phases with AI, or if at any point. So in the chat, when I say, you type down and send what level you think you are at. So from 0 to 100, how ready are you for AI? So get ready, and on my count, 1, 2, 3, send. Nice. Oh, it seems like we're quite ready. Yes, I love it. I love it. Great. 130, 60, 25. It's a different levels for sure. Okay, so for the agenda today, we have, looks like this. We have a welcome now where I will introduce a bit what's happening. Then we will hear from Björn, who's here with us now, who will present to you a bit about the topic today. Super excited about that. Then we'll do a breakout room where we will talk about what we've heard. And we have facilitators from this crew that will facilitate each room and share the questions. And then we'll bring it out to the big room and do a little bit of a sharing from what we talked about in the breakout rooms. And then we'll close it out. We have some announcements to share with you and share our communities, and then we'll wrap it up by 2 o'clock. Now, I'm not gonna linger anymore. I'm gonna break it or leave it on to our expert for today. It's somebody we've been promoting a lot in our channels lately. He's at the core of accessible AI, building cool stuff at Peltarion. To me, the first choice in no low-code tool is Peltarion, of course. So give a warm welcome to our guest and expert today, Björn Treje. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Sort of visualizing the applause here that you get from the main stage. So I'll just start by bringing up the correct presentation. So we had that thing out of the way. All right, looks good from my side. Super, awesome. And sort of a huge thank you for having me here. Thank you, Tosca, for inviting me. It's a really interesting topic, accessible AI. There are many different sort of perspectives you can take on it. It is a topic that we work a lot with. We call it many different things. So I won't give you the sort of product tour on the accessible tool. I will talk about the topic accessible AI and how we work with that in order to try to sort of help all our users succeed. So first off, I mean, the reason why I work at Peltarion, the reason why I'm here is basically because we believe that AI is something for everyone. AI is something that should not only be for big resourceful organizations, because it is, I mean, of course, it's fun to build, but it's an important thing for mankind to make sure that this is democratized technology. So what is it that we do to solve this? Well, basically, the most important thing, like you mentioned, David, is that we build a no-code AI platform, basically a tool that would sort of lower the barrier for anybody to use an AI tool and be able to build something. Now, I'm not going to talk that much about our tool today. I'm going to talk about basically how we work and the sort of the challenges that we have with our users. So a little bit about me. I work at Peltarion, head up what we call Technical Enablement. Technical enablement is basically the thing you would put inside the technical product on one hand, like sales and marketing on the other hand. So our purpose is basically to help all our users succeed when they build AI solutions of any kind. So to do that, we do a lot of different things. We have Knowledge Center, we work with onboarding, webinars, events, everything that we can basically sort of spread the word and also try to create good content. And on the topic of sort of AI everywhere, this is basically the user signups of our tool. I took this screenshot 2 weeks ago. So what you can see is that we work with users and companies all over the world. And I mean, you might think that someone in Brazil compared to someone in Algeria compared to someone in Ukraine might be, approach this in a completely different way. I mean, you'd have cultural differences, you'd have organizational structures, etc. But I mean, in order to succeed with AI, because accessible AI is all about creating sort of the foundation for succeed, because making something accessible is really about sort of removing the obstacles. If you remove all the obstacles of something, then per definition, that thing is accessible. So on that topic, I mean, what are the 3 things that you really need to work on? What are the 3 obstacles that you need to remove? Well, I mean, when you work with AI in order to be successful, there's basically 3 things. This is probably, kicking open doors for many people. But I mean, you need data, you need your AI tools and skills, and you need your business sense, the domain experts. This is not something new, and a lot of various attempts have been made to sort of make these three different domains get closer to each other. You'd have the obvious, I mean, you know, getting the data closer to the business, which means that you have your BI tools, your data warehouses, you build your dashboards, you try to be data driven. Perfect. There's also been this, all right, so the business experts bring in the AI experts, say, hey, what are the typical use cases for my industry? Please share with us. You would also have sort of the attempts of getting both data and AI closer together. This would be your cool, your cool tech prototypes. This is where, you know, the tech department tries something cool and showcases it. This is, if you come across the famous POC graveyard, this is where the POC graveyard lives, because you've built something without getting the value out of it. So what you need to do is basically move the business. Instead of only moving the data part and moving the AI part, you need to actually move the business towards data and AI, not just make sure that the data and AI moves towards you. This is where you find your AI use cases. And why is this important? Because the only way to actually be successful in AI, so waiting for my presentation here to pop up, is, I mean, the more you actually get these different circles or domains to overlap, the more successful you become. And why is that? Because most likely, the first use case you would come up with is not the good use case. The good use cases, the real high value use cases, are a bit more out in the fringes of this overlap. And you will never sort of get to that point unless you move the business into AI and data. So in terms of defining accessible AI, to me, it is giving the power to solve things to the people with the actual problems, and with the twist of matching their desired abstraction level. That might sound like something fairly complicated to say. I mean, how do you match someone's abstraction level? I'll give you an example. So let's start with let's have a top-down approach of breaking down a problem. Maybe somewhere up high in the organization, somebody says, all right, so the competition is running faster. We really need to use AI to stay in business. Sounds like a very vague thing to say, but it has been said. That person will then sort of go to somebody in the company and say, how do I do this? That person might be someone on the leadership or executive team. Says, all right, so we could automate our customer support. I mean, that would really cut our costs. Okay, sounds nice. That's sort of one abstraction level lower. You dig in to the problem a bit more. That person would go to another person saying, how can we do this? That person would say, yeah, I mean, we could connect our support system to machine learning and let it learn from the conversations. I mean, great, it's an idea, getting somewhere. But what would happen then with that person will most likely go to another person saying, yeah, since we have actual outcomes of all our inbound support tickets, we might be able to train a text classification model to predict the intent of a message. We're really sort of narrowing in on something, you know, we're trying to bridge this business problem into an AI problem. Can we solve it yet? No, we can't solve it based on that. We need to go ask another person. Let's use the latest 6 months of data to train a multilingual BERT model to predict which of the 9 intents is most likely, then only use answers with confidence above 70%. Right, this is quite a technical solution. Can we do something? I mean, your typical team, could that do something with it? No, because you need code, right? You need to bring in somebody with coding skills to solve this. So the typical abstraction levels here would be, I mean, going all the way from, let's say we call it CEO to a data scientist. These are the different levels, abstraction levels or detail levels, call it what you want, that you would need to go through to break down an AI problem from the top into, you know, actual code. So this might be CEO to leadership, to product owner, to the Scrum team, to the data scientist. And for the big and resourceful organization, I mean, This is nothing complicated. All you need is cross-functional team, right? Then you can solve this. But the cross-functional team with all these skills, I mean, looks like a team of maybe 5 persons or something to get all these skills at the same place. So in order for that big and resourceful organization to get accessible AI, no problem. You just hire all the persons you need. You find a nice organizational forum with cross-functional teams and you start working on the problem, right? That's not a problem. But what if you don't have those resources? What if that cost of innovation that you need to build up these use cases is higher than all the individual use cases? What if the only thing you're focusing on are the high-value use cases? Because those are the only one you could actually justify with the cross-functional teams. So you're missing out on 2 things. One, you need the big, heavy, expensive cross-functional team to realize the high-value use cases. That cuts away a sort of a majority of the initiatives and teams in the world. You also lose the long tail of use cases, the big red part here, because even if you would have that cross-functional team with all the resources, you would never give them the medium value use cases. You would focus on the high value use cases. So even if you would have that set up, you would still miss out on the long tail of use cases. And a common misconception is that you should rely on your ML engineers or data scientists to solve everything. There will never be enough data scientists, machine learning engineers in terms of cost versus value to motivate you to solve anything. So what you need to do is basically lower the cost of innovation to make AI accessible. So let's talk about a case. A global company we worked with, started before the summer. Manufacturer, retailer, sort of 100,000 employees. We worked with them. They wanted to sort of get AI into their ecosystem. They wanted to AI enable themselves. Had no idea of how, but they had 2 teams interested in doing something. Team 1 sort of did their homework. They tried to move the business a little bit towards data and AI. So they had a use case. They say, hey, we have an idea. Can you build this for us? And then we had the other team. They had no idea, but they had a great interest in learning. They had a business development mindset, and they were really interested in learning some more about AI because they had this belief that there's probably a lot of ideas out there. So none of the teams had AI experts, but actually the first team had a couple of data analysts. So data was an issue there. They were similar size. So after 4 months, the first team, the one with the idea, they had 5 use cases and 1 POC. And we actually came up with 3 of those use cases. The second team had 3 times the amount of use cases, 15 use cases, 7 proof of concepts, and 2 of them entering pilot. And the only difference between these 2 teams is that the second team actually put in some time in learning the AI fundamentals and sort of how to sort of prototype on their own, while the first team were completely dependent on the AI expertise to be external, meaning that, remember, the first team, they realized that they already they brought the business somewhat closer to data and AI, but they stopped there. So the 1 use case that they started with turned into 5, and that was that's the small overlap you can see in the middle. While the second team, who actually made the effort of moving their sort of entire business up towards data, they got a much bigger overlap, much bigger intersection between data, AI, and their business skills. So they could come up with 15 use cases. We didn't come up with any of them. They did it on their own. And since they embarked on a bit of AI journey, they knew how to frame an AI business case. They knew where the data was. And they were sort of business owners within this organization. So they know that, we know about this data. I don't have it on my laptop, but I can go get it. It's just mine to go get. And the enablers in this case is basically, right, so you need the innovation mindset. I mean, this is the business part. You need the innovation mindset and the willingness to question the way things are done. That's what they brought. That's what they brought on the table. They didn't have the data to start with, but they knew where to find it. At least, a small subset of data to build some kind of proof of concept with. We managed to get that cross-functional skills team. It's not the same as having a cross-functional team, because we basically educated these business people into being able to solve things on their own. Will they be the one putting everything into production? No, most likely not, because when you put things into production on a big enterprise scale, at some point the ML ops, DevOps, infra team will be involved, data scientist department as well. But they could actually prototype and develop business cases, use cases on their own. And what we gave them was just education on the right abstraction level and the tool. So coming back to this slide, instead of saying, hey, get that big cross-functional team to make AI accessible, we just focused on these ones. All right, so who are the people that would have ideas and the business development mindset? And then we gave them a bit of education, nothing much. I mean, we did like 4 workshops, teaching them about AI fundamentals, AI skills, different problem types. We helped them, one-on-one, just being somebody for them to bounce their use cases on. And we gave them a tool to make sure that they don't have to use code. Because all these were like business owners, non-development engineers. One developer also joined the team. But for all the other people who weren't developers, making them write code is a hard thing. That's a big step to take. But they're smart people, no problem at all, teaching them a bit of AI basics and giving them a tool to use. So what happens then when AI is accessible to the people with the problems? Well, basically, you could ask the question, what happens when the cost of deploying AI or innovating with AI goes from 10 to 1 or 100 to 1? And you could add thousands or millions to this, depending on the size of your company. Well, basically, what happens is that AI is accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice, Björn. So interesting. I love how you illustrated it with the data, AI, and business, and moving business upwards. And then I think that's a lot of challenge what we face as AI business consultants to integrate the business with the AI part. Most companies, in my opinion, have in the modern days a bit try to work with data and putting data first, but that's also a challenge for some companies. But I think it's interesting put, and also what it means for I'm thinking about what it means for the acceleration of AI. When you talk about accessibility of AI, because we're all trying here who are working with AI in some sort, trying to accelerate the use cases and the movement of deploying AI. I think it's quite interesting of what will happen as we go on in the coming years.
Yeah, and it's a big conversation around sort of centralized or decentralized AI, which is the right way to go. We had a lot of discussions around that topic, and basically the best way is actually to combine them, because you need the decentralized approach for the idea generation, the use case generation part, but it's hard to depend on one small team or one person to drive a use case within an entire industry. So then that person needs the support to go from proof of concept. Sorry, I noticed that I'm using a bit of words, but POC is basically a proof of concept, basically when you just, you try to build some first model to showcase that there's value in this data, we can do something. And going from that first proof of concept to actually making a pilot and sort of integrating it with business processes, that's when you need the centralized support, because that is not something, if you're in a big company, that you can do on your own. But it's hard to rely on the centralized team to find all the ideas out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite large organizations can have a quite big step with educating different departments about what they can think, how they can think when approaching problems, to make it more aware about what's possible and how to think. But when we do that, then tools like this will be or it's already valuable, but to them, to the big teams as well, big companies, even more so, I think, is my thoughts and reflections, of course. So what happens now is based on what we've heard from Björn. Thank you again. We'll touch back with you a little bit later as well. We will have some time to break up into smaller rooms, and I hope that Björn, you will stick around and maybe be part of a room. Would love that. So for you who haven't been participating before, and everybody else again, please turn on your cameras, and when we break out in the rooms, your mics as well, and participate to share and discuss, because that's, I think, where we all will grow more and really take in what Björn has talked about to boil it down to what it's mean to you and what we can do with that information. So you will have 1 to 2 facilitator in each room, help out with some questions and some thoughts to spark the conversation. And for you watching on YouTube, feel free to share your thoughts in the chat when we return, which all the rooms hopefully will do as well. So we will pull you back in at 1:45 here to talk a bit more. Until then, stick around, join the breakout rooms, and see what comes up. See you back soon.
David, do you want me to stick you in a room?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. Or can I sign you afterwards, or do you? You can join manually.
Yeah, I can join as well. Let's see. We have somebody in each room, right?
Yeah. So you don't need to focus on facilitating. Just jump in a room.
I'll go in room
6,
3.
5. Yeah, go room 3.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Nice to see all your faces again, or most faces. Let's see if I can pull some up here on the side. Yes. Yes. Hello, hello, hello. Cool. I hope you had a nice discussion, conversation, and maybe made a few connections along the way. Maybe I hope that we can share some insights or just hear what you talked about in the different rooms, and I'd love to hear some voices. So please turn your cameras on. Mine is on, I hope. Yes, it is. I see a few faces. So let's see. How many rooms do we have? If we can just ask room number 1, can you share a bit? What did you talk about?
I'm not sure I remember which room we were in.
That's okay.
Maybe other people will not remember as well.
I can go from room number 1. Well, for me, it was really interesting to find out that many organizations still struggle with the human factor. That is, that many still have preconceptions about what AI is, and they sometimes get intimidated by any AI that comes into the organization. That maybe they will lose their job or maybe just feel threatened. So that was interesting to hear.
Yeah. What may I ask a question to that? Did you talk about ways of working with that challenge, or how did the discussion go around the topic of fears and non-awareness, or yeah, maybe you get what I'm going for.
Yeah, maybe the room participants want to share. Otherwise, what I took from it is that it's important to talk about it, to make it clear what AI is and what AI isn't, what it is capable of and what it's not capable of, and yeah, just have good communications and get everybody on the same page. And yeah, they need to know that there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just gonna be, it's gonna optimize the work, do the boring stuff, and so humans can do what they do best. That's what I took from it. If maybe somebody from the room wants to share.
Yeah, nice, thank you. Anybody else wants to pop out and share what you talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you. Please, you go.
Okay, our team talked about what happened when the cost of AI innovation goes down. And then our team was talking about, like, in the big companies, executives and managers often have this old fashion minded, and it's really, they think it's not that expensive, but AI cost actually a lot eventually. And then, but we need to show that first we narrow down the problem and then concentrate to build the one small thing step by step, then show that it works, then slowly expand it. That's the way we maybe show that AI works, and then it's really useful.
Interesting, thank you. Yeah, I like that thought about expanding it and the way to face that challenge. Tabitha, please, you had something as well.
Yeah. No, we kind of got we kind of were talking about the price going down. Some people felt like we should just go ahead and use it. It doesn't matter what like other people think, and kind of just get on with it, and not worry so much about the concerns like around the data privacy, and I guess generally the fears that people have about AI. But I think also it was interesting that we kind of, there were some comments around the fact that it's less about less about the cost and more about like when AI becomes more usable. And I think Bjorn's tool I think seems like it's been designed in such a way that anyone can use it without actually needing to know code. So we kind of felt it was a little bit like what he was saying in his talk at the beginning, that once people can actually kind of experiment with it, then and once the not the fear factor so much, but like I think Marie said something about losing respect for AI, in the sense that it just becomes like a normal app, like a Microsoft app that you might have. We use Word to write letters or documents, and we use PowerPoint for presentations. And you have your AI app, that does the same kind of thing, and in that sense, then it's just you make it more accessible and less less dramatic, because I think AI just has a lot of drama around it, and I think there's a lot of fear around algorithms and AI taking over the world. And I mean there may be justifiable concerns, but by the same token there's a practical application that AI has that probably we're missing because we sort of are too afraid of it, or too much in awe of it, perhaps.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. Thank you. I think that's very interesting and important discussions to have as well. I mean, you have to approach it in a lot of different aspects, and I think that brings a very valid point to that. Hopefully, eventually, and maybe thank to tools like the Peltarion tool to make it a little bit less dramatic and scary to approach.
Yeah.
I think we have time.
One other thing, like just about that, the data privacy at the moment, at least, has been something, at least in financial services, in banking, prevents being able to experiment that much with data, because obviously a key aspect to AI is the data, but getting access to that data is often extremely difficult. So that was another point that came up as well.
Good point. I see we have some hand raised. We're moving on real quick. Maria, please share.
Yeah, we in room number 2, we were discussing, we were talking about a lot of interesting topics. And one topic I would like to raise, it's about education is everything. We were talking about especially education of leaders, probably young generation, they understand a little bit more and they like more digital, but leaders, they have a lot of different ideas, but they probably have a little bit more difficult to connect these ideas to AI and to see how it would be like in the AI world. So education of leaders, domain knowledge, business owners.
Thank you. I think we have a little bit more time here before we have to move on. Björn, I see you raised a hand, please.
Yes, I have first a comment for Tabitha and also Maria. Because just as you mentioned there, Tabitha, in terms of like losing the respect of AI, because there is together with that respect, you also, I mean, the more respect you have for something, the more sort of magic it seems, the higher expectations you also have of what it can do. So what I've seen happen when we, finally get somebody to break down their problem, say, this is the problem, this is how we solve it. They typically say, oh, that's AI. It's not that special. And that's a good thing, because in that, that's not that special thing, they sort of lose the respect. They also realize that it's something they can actually build on their own. So I completely agree with that. And I was thinking, Maria, what you said about education, completely agree. I'd like to sort of evolve the term education into enablement, just as, I mean, you can teach somebody about a car, that is one thing, that is education. And you could give them a driver's license, that's enablement. And even though the CEO will be BMW and Tesla and all that, I mean, even though they're not the ones driving the car, them having a driver's license is actually the enabler for them to work within that industry. So adding something to that sort of theoretical part of education and call it enablement, pushing it a little bit more towards like, yes, you know what it is, but you also know how it's done.
Yeah. Thank you, Björn. I mean, I love this discussion now. I'm sorry, I'm gonna speed through a bit, but I love the sharing, everybody participating, and bringing out something from the rooms. Thank you a lot for doing that. I see that we have like 4 minutes left here, and before I would wrap up with some announcements. Firstly, I think that I need to see. Let's see. We're going. Yeah. I've heard some talk about this AI accelerator program from Peltarion here. Björn, can you tell us a bit about this?
Yes, of course. Basically, the accelerator program is a way for us to sort of help many different people at the same time, which is good in terms of we can also bring them together as a sharing thing. So basically, what the accelerator program is, if you have an idea of AI and you also have some sense of the data, the accelerator program will help you build your first, we call it MVP, basically it's minimum viable product, meaning your first small version of that AI model. We won't build it for you, we will help you build it. And the way we do it is basically by weekly sort of educational sessions, and then one-on-ones with assigned mentors, and also group discussions on different parts of the problem. So we're starting a little bit depending how you see, third or fourth sort of cohort or edition in January, and applications are open, and it's really appreciated.
How do we find, if we want to apply to this, where do we find it?
You find it basically, you can apply basically from the accelerator program. I'm not sure where that link goes, but I would, but we have a blog post up.
That's great. I think that we will share also in our community a link to it, or I don't think we will. So in our community on LinkedIn, or if you reach out to any of us here, we will send a message, I think, to the attendees as well. So we will share it, so you find it as well. But it's on your site, I suppose.
Yeah, we got a blog post, a linking to the application form and all that stuff.
Excellent, perfect. Couldn't be easier. And then we have something else. It's the AI Academy. Björn, what is that?
Yes, we have two things. On one hand, we have a knowledge center, like a big repository of knowledge, largely focused on how you work with our platform. But what we really realized is that is not all that people need help with. They typically need help with a lot of other stuff, like what is AI? So at the Peltarion AI Academy is basically a place where we started to put that kind of thing. So for instance, there's the Faster AI course, basically introduction to AI, talking a bit about sustainability in AI and ethics, and also help you build and train your first model. So give it an hour and you would have built your first AI model, basically, disregarding of prior skills. We are also working on, and what will be hopefully come up in December or January, our first certification program.
Awesome, thank you. And we will share a link to that as well, so you can find that too. So we are about to wrap this up right now. We will here you find some QR codes to where you can find us on Instagram and on LinkedIn. We'll also send that out to you. And since this is the last event in 2021, we will host then the next one in beginning of 2022. In January 27th is the primarily set date. There's no theme set, but you're welcome to reach out if you want to hear about something special, topic, or follow up on this talk or anything else, and we'll try to make that happen. And before we check out, I would like to extend a big thank you to you, Björn. It's super interesting.
Thank you for having me. It was I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and great discussions.
Yeah, I agree. It's been absolutely amazing. And also a big thank you to the crew who's helped out this, Tosca, Victor, Philip, and myself, and also everybody facilitating. And we will not have time for a checkout question. I will respect the time, but thank you all again for coming, and I hope to see you in January.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Jan.